Hi everyone. Welcome to Mr. Darkness. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing and leave a comment telling me where you're listening from. Because I'm truly curious how far stories like these can travel, and I deeply appreciate it. If you've been here before, I'm glad to see you again. Now then, let's begin. My name's Ray Fuller. I was 29 at the time, working the overnight sanitation shift at Crenshaw Meats. Most folks hate the graveyard slot, but I liked it. No yelling, no timers going off, no blood on the floor unless you put it there by accident. Just me, a mop, and the hum of the compressors. The only other person there at night was Marty, the floor supervisor. He stayed mostly upstairs, nursing bad coffee and watching inventory logs. The two of us rarely crossed paths after midnight. That's how I preferred it. About 6 months before this happened, a guy named Logan got fired. Officially, it was for a safety violation. An unsealed pressure valve in cold storage too. What no one knew was that I had seen it too. We both had, but when the paperwork landed, I played dumb and let it fall on him. I told myself Logan wouldn't hold a grudge, that he'd moved on. But truth is, I wouldn't have. It was late January, the kind of cold that settles into your hands and doesn't leave. Around 2 in the morning, I took my usual 5-minute break, walked the floor, stretched my legs. That's when I heard the dripping, slow, rhythmic, coming from cold storage 4. That freezer stayed mostly empty. We only used it during peak shipments. But the sound bugged me. I figured it was a valve again. Maybe condensation pooling under the coils. I pulled the door open. Cold air spilled out like dry smoke. My flashlight caught a thin sheen of ice along the floor seam. But what made me pause was the inside of the door. There was a handprint on it, full palm, frozen in place like it had pressed from the inside. Not a smear, not casual. It looked deliberate. I stood there longer than I should have. Something about it felt too fresh. The edges were uneven, like it had melted a little before refreezing. I wiped it off with my sleeve and stepped back. Told myself it was just moisture. Bad sealing. Air pressure shift. 10 minutes later, I was back in the locker room. Halfway through a bottle of water when I noticed it. Wet boot prints. Heavy ones. Coming from the main corridor. Stopping right behind the bench where I sat. No one was supposed to be in cold 4. Not even Marty had access to that one after hours. I called up to the office on the intercom. "You been down near storage 4? "Nope," he said. "Why?" "Just thought I saw something." "Check the cams," he said. Not even curious. So I did. Pulled up the feed on my tablet, scrolled back 20 minutes. Cold 4 showed nothing. Static. Like the feed had cut out right when I went in. No motion detection. No activity logged. Just fuzz. I didn't like that. I grabbed my flashlight again and went to double check. Maybe a blown fuse. Maybe something simple. But the moment I turned the corner and saw the door, I stopped. The handprint was back. Same spot. Same palm shape. But lower now. Closer to the handle. Like someone had slid down while pressing against it. I opened the door, heart thudding. The freezer was empty. Just frost. Metal racks. And a faint hum from the fan. I took one slow step in. Then I heard it. Something metal. Sliding across the floor behind me. The sound was sharp. A scrape. Like metal dragging over tile. I turned around fast. Flashlight swinging. Nothing there. Then the freezer door slammed shut. I ran to it. Shoved hard. Wouldn't budge. I hit the emergency latch, but it was stuck. Through the little glass window, something moved. A face. It was Logan. He didn't knock. Didn't speak. Just stared through the glass with that blank, easy smile, like he had been waiting for me all night. Then he turned and walked away. I pounded on the door until my fists stung. My breath came out in thick clouds. The cold hit fast, seeping in through my jacket, numbing my fingers. I knew I had 10 minutes, maybe 15, before the burn turned dangerous. There was an emergency override panel behind the lower rack. I dropped to my knees and yanked it open. Wires sparked. The mechanism clicked but didn't disengage. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely think. I reached for the nearest thing I could grab, a meat hook hanging from the side rail. Heavy, cold, solid in my grip. I swung it hard against the emergency light housing. Glass shattered. I kept swinging until I hit the internal fuse box behind it. One of the wires popped loose, and a little hiss of air escaped from the frame. The latch gave. I shoved the door open and stumbled into the hallway. The lights out there were still buzzing. Soft and yellow, like nothing had happened. No one in sight. I caught my breath against the wall. My body was shaking from cold and panic. A few minutes later, Marty came around the corner. "What the hell happened to you?" "There was someone in there," I said. "Logan?" "I saw him." He blinked. "Logan. He's been gone 6 months." "Man, check the cams." So we did. This time the footage loaded fine. Clear as day. Me walking in. Me alone. Door closing. No one else. 15 straight minutes of footage, and I never looked more alone in my life. No one shut that door. "Ray," Marty said slowly, "you sure you're not just tired?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. I knew what I saw. I knew that face. I waited until he went back upstairs, then crept into the office while he was in the break room. Pulled the access log from the badge reader system. Logan's ID had scanned in. 4 times. Tonight, suddenly, the lights cut out. At first, I thought it was a breaker, but then I heard it. That sound again. Metal dragging on tile. Closer this time. Slower. I backed into the locker room, hands shaking. I looked up at the mirror above the sink and saw him, Logan, standing behind me, his face pale under the flickering ceiling light. I turn, but he is already moving. He slams me into the wall. Hard. My shoulder hits the tile. The back of my head rings. Blood smears down behind my ear. I kick out, connect with something. He stumbles. I grab the fire extinguisher from under the bench and swing it. The first hit knocks him sideways. The second lands clean on his shoulder. He groans but doesn't stop. The third hit drops him. He crumples, breathing ragged, unmoving. I don't wait to see if he gets back up. I stagger through the side hallway and out toward the front gate. My hands fumble with the latch. Finally snap it shut behind me. Locked. Cold air bites at my face. But I am outside. I am out. They found him 3 days later. He had crawled in through the broken dock door weeks ago. Was living in the rafters above dry storage. Eating leftover rations and waiting. Waiting for me. Said he just wanted to talk. Said he thought I'd understand. I quit the job that night. Told them I couldn't do cold rooms anymore. Now, I work nights at a school. Just cleaning. Simple stuff. But I never go anywhere that locks behind me. Not even the janitor's closet. Not ever again. I'm Dale Carson, 34 years old. Divorced. Contract ranger. Never full-time. I just needed something steady. Something quiet. No office. No coworkers. Just me in the forest. Cabin 17 sat way out in Monongahela. It used to be a fire watch post, tucked past the third ridge, where the trees lean inward like they're listening. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That was the shift. You logged the wind, noted wildlife, called in movement if there was any. I liked it because there usually wasn't. My last week on the job was in January. Snow barely touched the ground, like the sky had changed its mind. Not a single hiker in days. Even the animals had gone quiet. It felt like the whole place was holding its breath. The first time I got assigned to Cabin 17, old Morris was the one handing me the keys. He'd been working the woods longer than I'd been alive. Didn't say much. Just one weird line I never forgot. If you ever hear knocking out there, ignore it. Nothing polite knocks out here. If you've ever worked a night shift alone in the woods, never assume it's just animals moving around. You tell yourself it's wind, squirrels, branches shifting. But after a while, the forest stops sounding random. That night, 9:42 p.m., I was scribbling into the logbook. Heater was rattling. I was halfway through a weather report when I heard it. 3 slow knocks. Not hard, not fast. Just steady. I didn't move at first. Didn't even lift my pen. I waited for it to repeat, or for footsteps. Nothing. I finally looked up. The door didn't shake. Nothing moved outside the little window. I told myself it was a branch. Maybe a bird knocked loose from the eaves. But I'd lived out there long enough to know rhythm when I heard it. That pattern felt patient, like someone who could wait all night. Around 10:15. I went to get more coffee and saw something on the floor by the door. A hinge bolt. Not rusty. Not loose. Looked like it had been pulled, not dropped. I bent down to check the hinges. One looked off, like it had been leaned on too hard. But again, it's an old place. Probably settling. Probably 10:50. I was back by the radio. Just static. Then the fuzz broke. It wasn't a voice. It was a knock. 3, then 1. Played out like some damn code. I didn't even write it down at first. I just froze. That was the same rhythm from earlier. Same tempo. Like it had followed me from the door to the radio. When I finally moved, I reached for the logbook. It was already open. My last page. Someone had drawn a red line through my entry. In the margin, they'd written 331. I didn't bring a red pen that night. I should have barricaded the door then. But I still believed these old cabins had ghosts, not people. That's what I told myself. Still wanted it to be some weird echo. Some animal. Some wiring issue. Just before midnight, the lights flickered. Once, then again. I went to the breaker behind the closet door. As I crouched, I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Heavy on the porch boards. No crunch of snow. Just wood bending under weight. I stood. Reached toward the narrow window slit beside the front wall. Just enough space to peek through if you knew where to look. Someone was out there. Standing at the far corner of the porch. He wore a wide-brim hat. Shoulders square. No flashlight. Just still. I grab the flashlight. Snap it on. Swing open the window. "You all right out there?" I shout. No response. Then I hear it again. 3 knocks. A pause. 3 more. Then one final hit. I lean closer. He's holding something. Long and dark. Looks like a crowbar or maybe a tire iron. Suddenly, a bang. The top hinge snaps. Metal clatters. The door jerks sideways. I stumble back. Drag the desk across the doorway. My hands are shaking. Breathing sharp in my throat. Another hit. The wood groans. Then, silence. I kept the desk braced tight against the door. One knee pressed to the wood. I could still hear my breath. Short and loud in that little room. Then came a different sound. Not pounding. A metal scrape. Slow. Sliding across the edge of the door. He was trying to pry it open now. Not with force, but precision. Like someone picking a lock instead of kicking it in. The radio was dead quiet. No voices. No static. Not even a hum. I reached to try again. But it was like the air had thickened around me. No signal. No noise, except the slow sound of the doorframe giving in. I remembered something Morris told me. There was a hatch under the rug near the back wall. Emergency exit from when this was a fire tower. Narrow crawl space that led out at the tree line. I had never used it. I slid the rug aside and found the handle. As I pulled it up, the scraping stopped. My ears strained. The boards creaked again. He was moving. I could hear him circling around the side of the cabin. Toward the back, I slipped down into the crawl space and pushed the hatch shut above me. Dirt presses into my palms. I start crawling fast. Rocks digging into my knees. Flashlight bouncing. I make it to the edge of the woods and break into a run. The cold hits me like a slap, but I don't stop. I can't. Branches whip at my arms as I move along the old runoff trail. Feet slipping in the half-frozen stream. Behind me, the sound of steps again. They are not rushed. Not stomping. Just heavy. Consistent. I throw myself down behind a rock shelf near the creek. Try to slow my breathing. Then I see him. He is holding one of those old battery lanterns. The kind with the yellow handle and warm white ring. He shines it along the trees. Left. Then right. Slowly. I wait until he turns away. Then grab a rock and hurl it into the opposite direction. The sound echoes loud in the hollow. He shifts. Moves toward the noise. I don't wait. I run again. This time uphill. Heart pounding in my chest. I know there is an old radio shack less than half a mile out, tucked against a rise. Maybe it still has a landline. I find it by memory. The outside padlock is rusted, but I throw my weight against it until it snaps. I pull the door closed behind me. Inside, no power. I reach around in the dark and find an old rescue alarm. One of those hand pump air horns, left for emergencies. I squeeze it once. The sound is deafening. A second later, I hear the clang. Metal hitting metal. He found the shack. I blow the horn again. It echoes through the valley like thunder. For a few seconds, there is only that noise. Then silence. I press myself to the far wall. Wait. He does not open the door. I hear movement outside. Then, nothing. When I look through the broken slat, the forest is still again. Police showed up just after 5:30. They checked the cabin, said there were no signs of forced entry, but one of them pointed to the snow out back. Heavy footprints, deep heel prints, no shoes, bare feet in the snow. I handed over the logbook, flipped to the page with the red mark. It was gone. Just my regular notes. Nothing in the margins. Nothing in red. A week later, I moved back to Charleston, took a job behind a desk, figured I was done with night shifts. But every now and then, I'll hear something, a knock, then another 3, then just one. Doesn't matter where I am. Stairwell, apartment door, even a car hood in the rain. The moment that rhythm hits, I freeze. Like the air's been sucked out of the room. Like I'm back in that cabin, waiting for the door to give in. If you're visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell icon to stay updated with our upcoming scary stories. Name's Eric Mallory. I'm 42. Divorced. No kids. Been working nights as a security guard for the municipal complex in Roanoke the past 6 years. The job's not bad. Not great either. Mostly it's quiet, which is exactly what I needed after a long career in a louder world. The complex has 3 main towers and 2 garages. The lower one goes way down. 10 levels in total, labeled A through K. Level K sits 2 floors underground. There's no public access after 9 p.m., and policy says no city vehicles should be down there past 10, which is why I started logging it manually on my rounds. I'd make my usual sweep at 11. Everything was the same as always until I got to level K that night. I stepped out the elevator, fluorescent lights buzzing low above me, the whole floor thick with that damp concrete smell. Then I saw it. A black sedan parked in stall K17. It didn't have plates. That was the first red flag. The second was the windshield. Not dirty, not dusty, but fogged slightly from the inside, like breath on cold glass. I stood there a moment, figuring maybe someone from admin was working late and didn't log it right. I circled once. No movement inside. No glow from a phone screen. Just Still, I was halfway back to the elevator when I heard it. Click, that soft little sound when a car door unlocks. Just once. I turned, looked back. Nothing had moved, but the sound had definitely come from the black sedan. You ever walked through a concrete garage, so quiet you can hear your blood in your ears? Then a door unlocks behind you. That metallic snap feels louder than it should. You don't run. Not yet. You just wait to hear it again. Or worse, to hear footsteps. I didn't investigate. Just made a mental note and logged it when I got back to the booth. I figured I'd check again on the next round. See if anyone came to claim it. 30 minutes later, I went back down. It had moved. Same level. Different space. K22 this time. Still no plates. Still no driver. My chest tightened when I realized the fog on the windshield was gone. Like someone had wiped it clear. That's when I radioed dispatch. They checked the roster. Nobody had credentials for level K tonight. Not even janitorial. By now it was past midnight. I held off a bit longer, hoping someone would come retrieve the damn thing. Around 1 a.m., I made one more round. This time slow. The air felt different, like the temperature had dropped a few degrees, only on that level. The car was idling now. Engine on. Lights off. It made no sense. I approached from the passenger side, my boots echoing louder than usual. No light from the dashboard, but I could hear the hum under the hood. Soft, steady, almost rhythmic. I looked through the back window and paused. The rear seat looked wrong. Lower in the middle, like the cushions were weighted down. No movement, but something felt off. Like whoever was lying there wasn't asleep or alive. I reached for my radio. Just static. Same as earlier. Then I saw something on the ground by my foot. A piece of paper. I picked it up. It was a printed log sheet. My log sheet. From the night before. My name was circled in blue ink. And right below it, someone had scribbled a note by hand. You missed 143. I didn't breathe for a full 10 seconds. That's when I backed away and went for the elevator. Pressed the call button and stared down the tunnel of concrete. Waiting. The elevator dinged before I even touched the button again. It opened slow. Empty. I hesitated. Then stepped inside. Hit lobby. Waited. Nothing happened. The elevator didn't move. Then the lights shut off. Pitch black. For 1 second. Then the backup bulb kicks in overhead, flickering like it's fighting to stay alive. I reach for my radio again. Still just static. And then I hear it. That same engine hum. Not from the garage. From the speaker above me. Then breathing. Not through the speaker. Inside the elevator. Just behind me. I didn't turn around. I just jammed my baton between the elevator doors and started forcing them apart. My hands were shaking so bad I nearly dropped it. I managed to pry enough space to wedge my boot through, then pushed until the doors groaned open. The shaft was caught halfway between K and J. I had to climb, pulling myself through the narrow gap. Scraping my side against the frame. Landed hard on my left leg. Something popped behind the knee, but I didn't stop. The hallway was empty. Lights steady. But my ears were ringing with that engine sound, like it had drilled a hole somewhere deep in my head. I limped toward the stairwell, barely breathing. The moment I touched the door handle, I knew something was wrong. It was cold. Not room temp metal. Cold, like it had just come from a freezer. I pulled anyway, and the door opened. I started climbing, fast as I could on one leg. Made it to level J. Locked. Level I. Locked. Same for H. Every single emergency exit refused to open. Just the same red light blinking beside the handle. And then I saw the paper. Taped to the back of each stairwell door was a printed log sheet. My sheet. Each one circled with the same handwriting. The same time. 1:43 a.m. Over and over again. I tore one down. Crumpled it. Kept going. By level E, I wasn't even trying the doors anymore, just limping past. Seeing those same sheets. I don't know how long I climbed. Could have been 20 minutes. Could have been 5. It all felt stuck in a loop. Like my body was moving, but nothing above me was changing. I turned back. Went down. Back to level K. The moment I opened the stairwell door to the garage, I knew something had changed. The sedan was gone. Only thing left was a trail of wet tire marks across the concrete. No oil. No footprints. Just 2 long dark streaks leading toward the far corner. I told myself to go back, to call for help, to sit down and wait it out. But I didn't. I followed. Each step echoes louder than it should. Then the overhead lights start clicking off, one by one. Far side first. Then the next row. Then the next. Coming toward me. I run, limping, dragging one leg. Every breath sharp like broken glass. I yank open the janitor's closet and slam the door shut behind me. I crouch low, holding my breath, watching through the narrow vent slot near the bottom. Darkness. And then, a flicker, headlights. On. Then, off again. No engine this time. No sound at all. Just light. And silence. I waited in that closet until daylight touched the edge of the stairwell. When I finally came out, the tire marks were gone. So was everything else. I filed the report. Every detail, even the parts that made me sound unstable. They sent someone down to sweep level K. Nothing turned up. That was my last shift. I turned in my badge the next morning. I sleep during the day now. Keep the blinds closed. Phone off. But every so often, I see it. A black sedan parked just beyond the tree line outside my building. No plates. Never moves. Never stays more than a night. When I check the security cam footage, there's always a glitch. Just one timestamp missing. 1:43 a.m. My name's Travis Hunt. I'm 38 and I work maintenance overnight at a secure data facility about 3 levels underground. It's the kind of job where you clock in, do the checklist, fix what needs fixing, and try not to think too hard about anything that doesn't make sense. Most of the building is just cold hallways and server rooms, but the elevator's where I spend the most time. There's a regular one for staff, and then there's the service lift. Old, clunky thing, but faster. I take it between B1 and B3, mostly just to check wiring or cycle the fire alarms after midnight tests. Someone once told me, if the elevator ever skips a floor, just go home. An older guy, maybe late 60s, leaning on a mop when he said it. I thought he was joking, just hazing the new guy. Thing is, he didn't smile when he said it. He just looked at the elevator doors and walked off. I'd been on the job maybe 3 weeks when the candy wrapper showed up. It was one of those blue and gold things, like the kind they put in waiting rooms, lying right in the middle of the elevator floor, as if someone had placed it there on purpose. I picked it up without thinking and tossed it in the bin on B1. Thought maybe someone had dropped it, coming off shift. 30 minutes later, I came back down from B2 and there it was again. Same spot. Same wrapper. I know I threw it away. I remember the sound of it hitting the bin. But there it was again. Like I hadn't done anything at all. I figured maybe static cling pulled it out of the trash, or it got caught on my boot somehow. Not the weirdest thing. I picked it up again. This time flattened it between my fingers and tossed it in a different bin near the break room. Next ride down to B3. It was back. Now I was looking at it harder. Not just the wrapper, but everything else. The corners were too clean. It wasn't crumpled. It wasn't new either. It had that soft crease in the middle like it had been opened, then folded carefully, like a note. I didn't mention it to anyone. Most of the overnight crew is remote anyway. There's maybe 2 or 3 of us in the building at any given time, and we rarely cross paths unless there's a fire drill or something floods. After that night, the wrapper started showing up every single time I took the service lift. Never on the main elevators. Just that one. It didn't matter which floor I started on or where I was going. Every ride, it was already there. Then the elevator itself started acting strange. Once, it stopped between B1 and B2 without me pressing anything. The doors opened, but there was nothing on the other side. Just darkness. No hallway. No emergency lighting. Just black like a tunnel. I stepped back and hit B3 again. But the panel didn't light up right away. It beeped 3 times, then jumped to B2 like normal. I told myself it was just a system delay. Another time, I saw my reflection in the elevator wall panel. Normal at first, but it didn't move when I did. Just a second late, like the feed was lagging. That one stuck with me. I took the stairs after that. Every floor, every step, just to be sure I was actually moving. When I got back to the maintenance office, I checked the time and noticed something else. My shift log said I checked in on B2 twice. At the same time, I sat there staring at the screen like it might correct itself if I blinked long enough. But it didn't. I didn't sleep after that shift. Just lay in bed thinking about that wrapper. How it always looked the same. How no one else ever seemed to see it. Around 3 in the morning on a Sunday, I got called in for a quick reset on the cooling system. I didn't want to use the elevator again, but my leg was acting up that night, and the stairs weren't really an option. I swiped my badge and the doors opened right away. I didn't press anything. The panel didn't light up, and then it started to descend. Slow at first, then faster. It went past B3, past the bottom of the building, and then it stopped at a floor marked B4, a floor that shouldn't exist. The doors opened to a hallway I had never seen before. The lights were flickering overhead, and scattered across the floor, spaced just right, like someone had dropped them one at a time, were copies of that same candy wrapper. All of them blue and gold. All of them folded exactly the same. I stepped out before I could talk myself out of it. My heart was beating too fast and my legs felt locked in place, like I was being watched before I even moved. The hallway curved just slightly, but not enough to feel like I was going anywhere. After maybe 30 steps, I ended up back where I started. There was no sound, no fans, no humming from the vents like every other level in that building. Just me and the soft crunch of wrappers under my boots. And cameras, every corner had one. Tiny black domes pointed right at me. Not blinking, not tracking, but it felt like they had always been watching. Like they were waiting for me to finally show up. At the far end of the loop, the hallway opened slightly, and there it was. A full-length mirror, just standing there, freestanding like someone had wheeled it out and left it. No frame, just glass and concrete. I walked up to it, looked myself over. Same tired face, same boots and shirt. But then I saw my badge. It didn't say Travis. It said Night 12. That stopped me cold. I only worked 4 nights this month. Checked the calendar twice last night because I was thinking of asking for a weekend swap. I reached up, touched the badge, and it felt real. Clipped, snug, right where it should be. But I had never seen that label before. My chest got tight. I turned and ran back toward the elevator, wrappers slipping under my heels. Hit the button 3 times. The doors opened. I slammed my palm across every floor. Nothing happened. Then it started to rise. It brought me to B2. Lights normal. Panel normal. No sound but the usual air system breathing through the ceiling. The candy wrapper was gone. My watch said 3:14. The radio crackled. Just once. Then my supervisor's voice came through asking for a quick check-in. Said he noticed a gap in the log time. Wanted to make sure the elevator system hadn't stalled. I told him I was fine. I lied. I sat in the break room for a while after that. Drank some water. Wrote the incident off in my head as a looped power glitch or maybe a sleep-deprived hallucination. Told myself weird stuff happens in underground facilities all the time. Eventually, I packed up to head home. I grabbed my jacket, slung my bag over my shoulder, and waited for the elevator chime. It rang without anyone pressing it. I almost didn't look, but I did. Inside the elevator, stacked right in the center like a little offering, were 7 blue and gold candy wrappers. Each one folded the same way, each one placed carefully on top of the other. On the wall beside them, scrawled in black ink just above the panel, were 5 words. You leave when it remembers you. I didn't take the elevator home that night. I didn't take it the next night either. I called in sick and kept my phone on silent. But every time I close my eyes, I see those doors open again, and the hallway behind them is always just a little longer. If you're visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell icon to stay updated with our upcoming scary stories.